Hey, this is Jamie from Capsule Computers, and today we are reviewing Umbrella Corps from Capcom. This competitive shooter is available now for PlayStation 4 and Windows. At the time of the recording of this video, the game cost $29.99 US. Umbrella Corps is the latest multiplayer addition to the long-running Resident Evil franchise. The meat and potatoes of this game are intense 3v3 matchup, with gameplay rules changing every round. Maps are set in some iconic Resident Evil locations and are jam-packed with the undead, creating a three-way battle between both teams and the zombies. Umbrella Corps is set a couple years after Resident Evil 6. Companies are now sending teams of highly skilled mercenaries to collect data Umbrella has left behind. Players will be in the combat boots of one such mercenary. The game is pretty light on story, with an extremely small story arc in the game's single-player experiment mode. Considering Umbrella Corps is more focused on competitive shooting, I don't expect much from the plot, and Umbrella Corps doesn't deliver much either. What is there is just passable window dressing, and not even close to expanding the Resident Evil lore in any meaningful way. Umbrella Corps uses Resident Evil's tight over-the-shoulder camera angle as the main view, and switches to the standard FPS aim down the sight's camera angle when zoomed in. The control scheme should be reasonably familiar to both Resident Evil and FPS veterans. Like every other modern shooter out there, players are given a few basic guns and grenades to start with, and unlock different types of guns, grenades, melee weapons, and customization options as they level up. Now don't get me wrong, I think in theory Umbrella Corps had the right stuff to be a pretty solid shooter. Too bad in actual practice, the game is just terrible. The small maps and low player count should mean that rounds should be short and intense experiences. Instead, we're stuck with a really bloated experience that doesn't feel like it's a rewarding skill. A big part of the problem are the zombies. When players spawn, they get a zombie jammer on their back to make the zombies ignore them, but if the player shoots their weapon or gets their jammer destroyed, zombies will immediately attack. Zombies constantly spawn, and in true Resident Evil fashion, there isn't enough ammo just to kill everyone, so gun battles can only last a couple seconds before either side has to break off the fight to contend with zombies, or simply get overwhelmed. This leads to one of the more annoying tactics in the game, melee rushing. Running around with a melee weapon or sidearm puts up a shield to the player's face, allowing them to soak stupid amounts of damage without flinching so they can close the gap and essentially one-shot the target while pursuing zombies lag behind. In practice, it feels like the shield blocks way more than just the face, and shooting for the legs just doesn't put enough DPS on a rushing target. Turns out there's actually a way to counter this obnoxious tactic, but the game doesn't even bother to tell players how to execute the melee counter. Whoops. The multiplayer rule set is pretty standard for a shooter, though some of the objective points are pretty poorly placed on the maps. Protect the VIP mode just doesn't translate well at all with the 3v3 format, as players spend way too much time being assigned as the VIP. The weapons are a little underwhelming, they don't feel much different from each other, and the shotguns are poorly balanced. They are pretty much pointless to use. Single player mode is essentially an extended tutorial that way overstays its welcome, and there is no co-op game mode, which is a bit of a disappointment. The control scheme is pretty awful. While the controller is just passable, the mouse and keyboard controls are clearly done by a team with little to no experience with PC games. There is a grand total of 9 sensitivity settings that all feel awkward. The mouse movement itself feels like a disturbing mix of input lag and mouse acceleration. The cherry on top of this mess of a PC port is the fact that the Xbox One controller is glitched out of the box, needing some driver tweaking to actually get it running. The audio-visual experience is pretty bland. While the game's models and textures are pretty nice, the animations are actually just plain old atrocious. Because the unrealistic movement animations are so poorly timed to the speed of movement, the player character looks like they're just skating around the world. The sound effects are okay, but the voice acting is pretty poor. There's just not much in there. For a team of highly trained mercenaries, they don't so much communicate with each other as they do just talk to themselves. To make matters worse, players spend a lot of time listening to poorly written and not very well acted commanders talk to them on the radio. To say Umbrella Corps is a disappointment is putting things rather gently. The game has the potential to be great, but Capcom has really dropped the ball. The controls are awful, the animations are terrible, and worst of all, the multiplayer gameplay is just no fun. Umbrella Corps is getting a very well-deserved 3 out of 10 capsules. If you want to read our full review, be sure to check out the link in the description or in the video's card. I hope to see you soon. This is Jamie from Capsule Computers signing off. Hey YouTube, looking for more competitive shooters to play? How about checking out some more Capsule Computer video reviews of games we think you will like? If you're looking for some amazing 6v6 competitive shooting that's surprisingly accessible, I most definitely recommend checking out Overwatch. You can find that review here at the bottom left. If you prefer your shooters to be a little more realistic, how about trying Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege? That review is here at the center. And if you're looking for something that plays a little faster, try Call of Duty Black Ops 3 here on the bottom right.